Alright, welcome back to Rickets Reef. Once you've got your LED pads tinned and connected to your heatsink, then it's time to cut your wires. You can try and make it uniform, so you only have to cut certain sets of sizes of wires. I'm actually going around and making sure that I got perfect sizes for each wire. A little extra work, a little extra time, but I think it's worth it. Once you've got your wire to the size that you want, just take your tool here, stick it in the appropriate, your wire stripping tool, stick it in the appropriate size for the wire, cut, pull, twist, and then in a few seconds I'll show you how to tin the edges. It's just a process of taking solder and putting it on the wire, so when you make that connection it's just quick, bam, soldered on, done. Alright, a quick demonstration on how to tin wires. So I put my wire in my clamp here. I'm going to take this end, got my soldering iron. I just hold it underneath the wire till it heats up. Take my solder, touch the wire, give it a second. Give it another. It doesn't usually take this long. I'm using an old soldering bit here just for this part because it doesn't need to be precision. This one's kind of just corroded away. Just needs to be able to transfer that heat. There we go. Bam. See if this side's a little quicker. You want it so that it melts on the hot wire, not on the hot soldering tip, because that way you get a better connection. Alright, that's it. Alright, time to solder these bad boys on. One thing you need to do is make sure you keep your tip tinned and clean. You do this by using solder. You put it on there and it kind of cleans it off. Then you take well, you can take all sorts of things to wipe it off. Some people use like a gold wool, some people use wet sponge, some people use a wet paper towel, some people use jean. I'm using an old jean hat here. It's just a quick matter of a wipe with the hat every once in a while and tinning it up with some extra solder there. Make sure it's always nice and shiny, clean all the dirt off, and that will help heat things up quicker. When they're dirty and not so good, it takes a long time for you to heat up the connection. Once you got your solder cleaned and ready to go, what I do is, since I've tinned my wires and there's tin on the pads, is I just take the wire, I hold it to the connection point on the pad that I need, and then I just hold it on top of the wire onto the pad. It melts them both together. Bam, done. 2 seconds. That's it. It's on. So simple. I think there's a couple videos on YouTube of people doing this. You can check them out if you want. If I can find them, I'll post the link in the description. But yeah, that's it. Just connecting all these things. Here, I'll show you another one just so you can see how quick it is. So here I am. I want to connect the negative out from this LED. So I hold my tinned wire onto the pad, tap it with my soldering iron. Done. Come over to the next one, into the positive, way over here. Done. Easy peasy. Alright, any questions? No problem, keep them coming. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. 48 LEDs all soldered together with the appropriate leads coming off the strings to connect to the drivers. That's what I'm going to work on now. I'm going to pull out the equipment and show you how to do that with the specific drivers that I got. There's all sorts of different ways to do drivers. You can drive LEDs with Meanwells. You can drive them with buck pucks. You can drive them with DIY drivers. You can do all sorts of things. And there's a wealth of information out there if you want to take a look. It all kind of depends on how complicated you want to get, how much you want to save, how much time, effort you want to put into it, and yada yada yada. But for me, the Meanwells are a good start. This is a good basic kit for the starter. It took about, I don't know, 2 hours to get all this cut and soldered and put together. If I were to sit down from start to end, about 2 hours, maybe a little more, because it was my first time. One thing I can suggest is, you see that soldering iron there? I don't suggest ever buying the Radio Shack Next Tech, whatever it is, soldering irons. I burnt my hand on the handle more times than putting solder on anything. It's just cheap. The tip on it, no matter how well I tipped it and cleaned it and kept it good, it still started to disintegrate. So spend the extra couple bucks, get a Weller. I think it's a WLC 100. They're like 45 bucks from eBay or Amazon. You're gonna save yourself a lot of money going out and buying a whole bunch of these stinking Radio Shack cheap soldering pencils, guns, whatever. Just don't do it. It's not a good idea. Alright, on to the next step. Okay, so now comes the somewhat tricky part. It's really not that tricky, it just kind of looks tricky because there's all these bits and pieces. In your driver, if you get this ELN-60-48D driver, there's a couple screws in it. There's one here that adjusts your voltage, and there's one there that adjusts your current. Now your voltage, you don't need to touch that, but your current, when you're running your strings for the first time, you want to turn it all the way counterclockwise. Now it doesn't turn a complete circle, so you got to be gentle because it will stop. It only does like a semicircle. Just kind of slowly turn with one of these small screwdrivers until it stops. What that does is it kind of gives you a starting point for your dimming control, because these drivers, it's got a D for a digital dimmer. What will actually dim the control is this thing here. It's called a potentiometer. They cost, I don't know, $1.50 each. You can also hook up a dimmable driver to like an Apex or a Reef Keeper or some kind of controlling system, and then you can create all these thunderstorms and cloud effects and all sorts of neat stuff. And one day I'll get there, but for now I don't have enough money to go buying all the pieces for the controller, so I'm going to hook up one of these pots. You can actually make a pot on your own. So what we're going to do here to test the system for the first time is I've adjusted this kind of midway. It's not a bad idea to do it midway or all the way to the bottom, then adjust it after. After that, you've got your AC cord, which is pretty self-explanatory. You attach this to just a power cord, and that plugs in over there. Now you've got this DC cord. This is the interesting one because it's got 4 leads coming off of it. A red one, which goes to the power in to your LEDs. A black one, which goes to your power out from your LEDs. You've got a blue one and a white one also, and those are for your dimming controls. Your blue one goes to the middle leg in your potentiometer. The white one goes to the far right leg or the neutral leg on your potentiometer. I'm just going to call it pot because I don't even know if I'm saying this right. On the left leg, the power leg into your pot, you need a 10 volt signal. No more than 10 volts. You can use a 9 volt battery. What I've got is a wall wart. You probably have a whole bunch of these sitting around your house from old cell phone chargers or some kind of chargers. What you need to do is you need to make sure that it's got a regulated current of 9 to 10 volts. If it doesn't have a regulated current, you might want to buy one. They're about 10 bucks from eBay or Radio Shack. I bought this one. It was actually 15 bucks because the stores around here just didn't have one that I felt safe with. And all my other wall warts, as you can see over there, that I found kicking around the house had really bad currents. Just usually most of them were too high. And you find out whether or not they're high enough on a multimeter. This is why you need a multimeter. This thing only costs about 10 bucks. To test your wall wart to see if it's got the right current, set it to DC. Right there. Usually they say 20. Make sure your cords are in the right one. Your black is your common, which is your ground, your neutral, and then your red is usually switching between the DC port and the AC port. Right now I've got it in AC because I'm using it to test the driver to show how many MA I'm pumping through these LEDs, and I'll get to that in a second. But to test your wall wart, stick your red into your D, your black stays the same, stick it on D volts, and test the two ends of the wall wart when you plug it in. Mine says a constant 9.2 or something like that with this wall wart. So that's pretty cool. So I've got the power in from the wall wart going to this, and that will send a signal to the dimming control unit in the driver. Now the neutral from the wall wart I've also got connected to the neutral on the pot down here, kind of hard to see. There it is. And that's also connected to the ground on the dimming cord. Now I'm going to post a special link to how to connect these drivers in the description. Go through that. It's only 2 pages and it pretty much explains how to do this. It looks a lot more complicated than it actually is. It's just a few simple steps. Anyway, let's try this out. I'm going to just take a second to get the camera situated. Alright, so I've got everything plugged in. I've got my multimeter in line with my LED signal. I did actually try this, and I did adjust my current inside my driver, so I do know how much is pumping out. I couldn't wait. I just needed to do it earlier. So this is the second run of these. Everything's plugged in. I've got my current set to pump my LEDs at max dim, or no dim, to about 900 mA. So here we go. I'm going to turn my pot over here, and you should see the white LEDs over here light up. Actually, let me hit the lights here. Whoa, there they are. Now if you can see the multimeter, it's sitting at 190 mA. Crank it up to 240, 260, 290. Hope you're not going blind. 4s, 5s. I'm going blind. 6, 7. I'm probably going to take days to get rid of these spots. 8, 8.9. So 9. Sorry, yeah, I had it adjusted at 890 mA. I think that's the right voltage terminology I'm using. These drivers can go up to 1,000, so 1, but I'm going to leave it at that just for the life of the LED, and I'll probably still have it dimmed for a while. The pot and the dimming makes it really easy to acclimate your corals to LEDs. You don't have to rig up a whole bunch of stuff to make it shaded in the tank. You can just dim your LEDs down, and then slowly over a couple weeks bring them back up, and then eventually your corals get used to it. Anyway, I hope this helped. I'm going to run out and show you the fixture, because that'll be the next part, and then I'm going to come in and test the rest of these LEDs. And here it is, as I mentioned, the fixture. It's almost done. There's just a few little things here and there to get complete. I've got the painting done. I've got my fan guard, finger guards on. Egg crate. That'll be my button panel right there. I've got fans going at the T5 end caps. I've got another fan over here. The big ones are going to blow on the LEDs, and the top ones too. But yeah, that's it. That's the fixture. So stay tuned and check out the next video, which will be me installing all this equipment into the fixture in the ballast box. Okay, later.